Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to walk you through a pretty cool feature I developed in a SmartSuite based CRM for one of my clients. And the easiest way to explain this feature is going to be to jump directly into the Miro board. So let's begin. All right, so as the title here suggests, it's a repeated reminders system. So what does that mean? It's a mouthful. So it's a CRM, and CRM will typically contain your contacts, your opportunities, and once a new opportunity or lead is added to your CRM, it is given a status. And typically it starts with a status called new, which is it just came in. And the lead or the opportunity evolves as the time progresses. It goes from new to attempted contact to maybe proposal sent or many other stages based on the requirements of the CRM that you're working with or the client that you're working with. So in our case, to simplify things, we're just going to stick to three types of status: new, attempted to contact, and proposal sent. Okay, so why are they key? They're key because the requirement from my client was to be able to send a reminder to the sales team. So I'm just going to add send a reminder to the sales team. Okay, because the sales team is the one who's monitoring the CRM, but before they had the CRM, they were monitoring it manually. So now what we want to do is, based on the status, we want to send the sales team a reminder. And to send them a reminder, we had very specific requirements. We want to send them the first reminder actually as soon as the lead comes in, and I'll explain what this means. We want to send the first reminder as soon as the lead comes in. So that's why I added 0 here. And then we want to send a second reminder 24 hours after the lead came in. So if the lead was still sitting in new status, meaning it hasn't progressed to the next status and it has been 24 hours, we want to send them a reminder again. And then same thing, if the lead is still sitting in the new status and there hasn't been any action taken and it hasn't progressed to the next status, we want to send them a third notification 48 hours after the lead came in. So all in all, we need to send them three different reminders. Now, it would have been easy if the same conditions applied for each status, but they had a different idea. What they wanted to do was, for the new status, it's as soon as it came in, 24 hours later, and then 48 hours later. But for where a lead has progressed to attempted to contact, now again, we want to send a notification to the sales team, but this time we want to send it, say, 48 hours, there was an attempt to contact, 72 hours when there was an attempt to contact, and 96 hours since there was an attempted contact. So now we have a different requirement. So 2 days, 3 days, and 4 days after the status has been sitting and attempted to contact. So what would happen is someone picked up the lead, they made a contact, they will change the status to attempted to contact. Now we wait 48 hours or we wait 2 days before we send them a reminder that, hey, it's been 2 days since you tried to contact them. Maybe you want to reach out to them again. Maybe they reach out again, and now it's been 3 days. But there's no change. So we send them a reminder again. So we keep going like this. And then after proposal sent, maybe we want to send a reminder 7 days after the proposal has been sent to check in with the client to see if they got the proposal, they like it or not, and so on and so forth. So this could be maybe after 14 days and maybe 21 days or something like that. So these details don't matter, but the idea here is that we want to send multiple notifications based on the status and based on different times specific to that status. So if you were to build this natively, there's no good way using just the SmartSuite automations. You could try Make, but again, you run into a lot of different issues because there's no way to directly get this data from SmartSuite natively. There is, and we're going to talk about that today, but nothing out of the box that will just fit the bill for this particular feature. What we're going to do is we're going to, and let me quickly show you the CRM that I have here for the demo. So I just have the opportunity name here and then the stage, which is basically the status as I showed in the Miro board over here. So this is the same thing as stage. Let me just fix that as well. There we go. Status or stage, same thing. Okay. So how do we trigger the notification? What we're going to do, or what I did to build this feature, is I added a new field called HSLU, and that basically stands for hours since last update. So if I just change it to new, this will be 0, and then when it has been 2 hours, then it'll change to 2. So at all times in this field, I'll be able to check the hours since the last update to my status field. Okay, so this is the first thing. And for this, we're going to use a formula to get this, which I'll show you in a second. So we'll use a formula for this. And then once we have the hours, so now we have both pieces of data that we need. So one is what's the status, and then how many hours have passed. So now using this and this along with this data that we know ahead of time, this is the requirements given to me by the client, we can use another formula and we can create a new field called trigger. And in here, basically we will have a true, false, or 1, 0 to tell us whether it is time to send a notification. So let's say this changed to 24, and now we have a match. We have 24 and the status is new. So then we will say that this is true. But now let's say this changes to something like 30, and now we don't have a match because it's not 24, it's not 48, it's something in the middle. So then this will change back to false, right? So every time this changes to true, we can use this field to trigger a notification. Okay, so let's talk about this setup first, and then we're going to talk about the second requirement, which is the actual notification that is sent, because the notification for each of these, the message that the notification contains is going to be different based on the status. So how do we deal with that? One option is to do multiple automations, but again, there's so many status, maybe 10 plus, and I don't want to create 10 different automations. So I figured out a way to minimize that as well into one automation, and I'll show that to you after we build this. Okay, so let's switch over to SmartSuite. And if you're not familiar with SmartSuite formulas, they're not too different from Airtable, but slightly different. Nothing that you can really get a hang off if you have used Excel before, if you've used Airtable before. These formulas are going to be no problem. I actually find them similar to Notion, then I find them similar to Airtable, but it's the same core concepts. So here I'm going to create a new field, and I'm going to look for the formula field and turn on the advanced editor. And this field, the first one, is going to be called HSLU, which is this field. And here we want to basically get the number of hours that have lapsed since the last update to the status field. So in the help text, I would say hours since last update to status field. So this is specific to status field. Okay. Other fields could be updating here and there, but we don't care. We only care about the status field. Okay. How do we get that? If we scroll down here, there is a formula called last time or last modified time. So let's use this. And in here, we need to provide the field for which we want the time. So we're going to provide the status or the stage field. It auto-corrected, which is pretty nice. So if was it showing an error? Yes, his status is not defined. I don't have status here. Stage. There we go. Okay, so if I just add this field as is, what I'm going to get is basically the time when this stage field was updated. So if I change it to something else, then it will change it to the current time, which is 11:52 p.m. I'm recording pretty late. Okay, so we got the time. So that's a good starting point. So let's modify this again. Okay, so now what we need is to get to the end result that we're looking, because we want the hours since last update. And that is nothing but the difference between, or basically last modified time minus current time. So we are looking to get this difference, the last modified time minus the current time, and that will give us the number of hours. And of course, we need this in hours because that's what our notifications are based off of. Okay, so that's the end goal. So let me get rid of that comment. So to do that, what we're going to do is we are going to use another formula called date diff. And in here, I'm going to give it the first date time, which is the last modified time. And then the other one is going to be basically the current time. And for that, we can use a formula called now. There we go. And this requires another input, this formula, and it asks you for, do you want the difference in minutes, in seconds, in hours? So I'll just go with hours. And if I close that and update, so now we're going to get how many hours it has been since the last update to the stage field or the status field. So it's 0.02, it's 0.31 because it was 20 minutes or so ago. And if you hover over this, it gives you a pretty critical piece of information that says, based on your team plan, this formula will auto recalculate every 8 hours. So you're not going to get this value updated second by second. That's going to be pretty intensive on the servers for SmartSuite. So what they do instead is they update any formula that has a now field our now formula built into it every 8 hours, at least on this plan. And I think the fastest is 2 hours or 4 hours or something like that. But for the plan that I have, it's going to be 8 hours, okay? So we see 0.02 and 0.31 for this. But to clean it up even further, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another formula called round up. And in here, I'll say round up to the nearest zero and update field. And now what I'm going to get is basically the number 1. So now anything between 0 and 0.99, or basically anything between 0 and 59 minutes, as far as I'm concerned, is just 1 hour, okay? So that's step number 1, and that takes care of this value over here. But for the purposes of this demo, I cannot wait 8 hours. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to add another field here, and that's just going to be a number field. And I'm going to name this HSLU-M, or I'll just do it like that so it's easy. And what this means is hours since last update and manual. So M stands for manual, and I will just use this to update manually because I have to wait 8 hours for this to update. So I'll just be able to enter any number I want to test our formula, because the next formula that we need is the trigger formula, and we want a true false value in this one. So here, let's go ahead and create a formula, and I'm going to call this trigger and go back to the advanced editor. And here, what we need to do is we need to basically find the intersection between what is the HSLU value and what is the status value, and then when do we need to do the reminders. Now, one thing here is that, actually, let me just draw it out. So I just told you, and I'll add a sticky note here, that this updates every 8 hours. So this field updates every 8 hours. So that means that I cannot get, there's a possibility that I will not land exactly on 24. I might get 22, I might get 28, because based on when it updates, I will get a different value. And given this updates every 8 hours, instead of relying on the exact number 24, we are going to rely on a range. So we'll say if the value falls between this range, then we will consider this a match. So for example, for 24, we can use 20 to 28. For 48, we can use 44 to 52 or something like that. So we'll know that if the value falls between that range, then we can consider this a match. So for that, the formula is going to look something like this. Hey, if you're enjoying this tutorial, you might want to check out No Code University, where I have a ton of practical courses on similar topics, including Airtable and Zapier. You can learn everything you need to know to unlock high-income opportunities in the no-code and AI space. To get started, you can find the link in the description below. Now back to the video, and I'll just walk you through. So we are going to use a nested if formula, and within the formula, we have basically 2 checks. First thing we need to check is the status. So let me change that to stage. So we'll say if the stage is new and the HSLU-M field. So let me fix that as well. What I want to do is I want to make this match my, there we go, okay. So what we're saying is that if HSLU-M is between 0 and 4, actually we can make this 0 and 8 because, the first one could be anywhere between 0 and 8. The second one can be between 16 and 24. So actually, let me make this 20 and 28. Okay. So what's happening here is that for this one, I'm checking the range of 0 to 8. And for this one, I'm checking the range of 20 to 28, because I know when it updates, it could fall anywhere between that range. So as long as one of these is met and the stage is new, the trigger is going to give me a value of 1. If not, it will check if the stage is attempted to contact and the value is between 68 and 76, which I think is for the 72 hours condition. So let me change that to 40 and 48. So that's for this value. Or actually we can do 44 to 52. So that's better. And then for 72, we can use 68 to 76. There we go. Okay, so now these values will fall in the dead center. So we've given it the 8-hour ranges. So anytime the value is between this and the stage is this, the trigger is going to be 1. Otherwise, it's going to just stay as a 0. So let me copy this and paste it into the formula here. And there we go. Add field. And since we rely on the HSLU-M field, we don't have any value in here. We get a 0, right? So now let's say it's been 0 hours. Let's check the formula. So greater than 0, actually we can make this one greater than equal to 0 because we want to fire it as soon as the new lead comes in. So update field. Okay, so this is a new, so this is a 1. Okay, so let's fix this. Let's change this to new. There we go. And okay, so now we have a match. So we say this is a new lead right here. The value is 0 in the HSLUM field, and we get the trigger to be true. So 0 here. Let's hide this one because we don't want to be confused. Remove from display. Okay, so HSLUM is 0 and then trigger is 1. So now notice what happens. Let's say the value updates to 12, right? And now it is going to turn back to 0 because it is somewhere in the middle now. It's neither 0, neither 24. And if I change it to, let's say now it's been 23 hours or something like that, now it goes back to 1, which means we are going to have a match because according to our formula, we are going to be in this range, which satisfy our second reminder condition. And this one turned back to 1. And then let's test one more. So attempted to contact. So let's say this one has now changed to attempted to, I don't have attempted to contact. So let me see what I have in the formula. I have in the formula attempted to contact. Let me change that to discovery. Okay, update field. And let me change that to discovery. And it goes back to 0. And actually, when you change the status, this field will also change to 0 because this will all happen automatically. I'm doing this manually. It will happen in the HSLU field that I showed you. So this is 0 and this is 0 as well. Because remember, for discovery or this one, let me change that to discovery. It is supposed to trigger when it reaches the 2-day mark. So let's say it updated and it reached the something like 46 hours. And there we go. So now it turns to 1 and then it's going to update again. And let's say it reaches 54 and now it goes back to 0. So every 8 hours, this value is going to update and the formula is going to kick in and check if we have a match. And if it is a match, it is going to turn 1. Okay, so that's the basic setup. So now we have a way to basically trigger based on the status and the hours condition. So that part is great. But now what we need to do is we need to trigger a reminder notification. And for that, we can rely on the SmartSuite automation. So I'm going to go here and I'll say create my first automation. And for this one, I'm going to use something called when a record matches a condition. So let's select this and we'll say in the opportunities table, when the trigger is equal to 1, I want to fire this automation. So we'll say add action. And here we will say send an email, and I'll just send it to my test email for now. Type or select from sk.email.com. And for the subject, I'll say test notification. And here I can also include the status or stage. There we go. Should have really changed it to status because I keep saying status. Okay, there we go. Oops, let's try that again. Okay, perfect. So now I have the subject test notification stage, and I'll say it's been, and I get the HSLU field since an update to this opportunity. Please take an action, do something. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And I will go ahead and add the automation. Yes, switch it on and close this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a match. So let's say it's in discovery and it's been 72 hours. So let's change this to 72. And again, remember, this is going to happen automatically in the HSLU field. This is just a manual for the demo. So let's change it to 72. So the trigger just went to 1. And let's check the email. It takes a couple of seconds. Oh, there we go. So test notification, discovery. It's been 72. I forgot to add the hours. 72 hours since an update to this opportunity. Please take an action. So that fired off great. Now, the only thing that's left is that we want the subject and the message to be based on the current status. And I don't want to create more automations based on what is the status. I want to use the same automation. So for that, what we can do is we can add a couple more fields. And let me add this just to represent the fields. So the second field I'm going to add is going to be the subject. And this is also going to be a formula. And we will add one more. And this is going to be the email copy. And again, it's going to be a formula. So what we're going to do is we are going to rely on the status to determine the value in here and the value in here. And then once we fire the automation, we can just get the values from here. And then that way we can get dynamic subject and copy. Okay, so how do we do that? So let's go back here, create a new formula, and I'm going to call this subject, or actually this is formula search. And let's make this a subject and advanced editor. And here I'll just say if, and we need the stage equals new. The value is going to be something like new lead alert. And if the stage equals discovery, let's say lead stuck in discovery. And if it's neither, then just leave it blank for now. And let's close the first if. Okay, what am I missing? I think I'm missing a comma here. There we go. And that's this one. Oh yeah, I don't need a, sometimes you mix JavaScript and SmartSuite formulas. That's normal. Let's clean that up. Okay, there we go. So we have if stage is new lead alert, if stage is discovery, lead stuck in discovery. Otherwise, just leave it empty for now. And I'm going to copy this because we're going to need this for the email copy as well. Add field. So this is discovery, and now I'm getting the subject lead stuck in discovery. And now let's create one more formula field. And this is going to be the email copy, advanced editor. And so here now we add the copy directly here as long as it needs to be. You have actually the pleasantries can be in the email itself. We can just add the core here. There's a new lead, please take prompt action or something like that. So of course the message is up to you. And then for discovery, we'll say it's important to follow up or something like that. There we go. Very good. So now if I add fields, we are going to get the right subject and the right copy. And all we need to do in the automation is that we are going to change the subject and copy to grab from those fields instead of adding it here. So let's say subject is going to be subject, because remember, it's going to get auto updated based on the status. And in here we can say, hey there, or whatever name. And then for just the main part, we can take the email copy. There we go, email copy. And then in here we can say regards CRM, save automation. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is, so what was the next condition for this? We had the 96-hour condition. So I'm just going to walk you through the loop one more time. So let's say it reaches 80 and now it turns off, it's 0. And let's say it eventually reaches 96. Did I have the third condition in there? Maybe not. Let's see. Oh, okay. I only have 3 conditions. So let's add more. And this one is going to be from, let's say 92 to 100. Okay, update field. Okay, so now the condition has a match. It turns to 1. And let's go here to the inbox. And if you want to check if your automation has fired, you can go here to automations and check the history. So it seems like it only ran once so far. And maybe let's change it to 88, turn it to 0, and then let's try it one more time because we didn't have the value in there earlier. So now let's change it to 96. There we go. And let's check the automation. Okay, so the second one just fired. Seems like I have an email, and now it says lead stuck in discovery. Hey there, it's important to follow up or something like that, regards CRM. So that's how you can send dynamic notifications or dynamic emails based on the status and the hours. So just to recap, we have a status, and then to check how much time it has been since the last update to the status, we added a new field called HSLU, which is a formula field, and this updates every 8 hours. In the demo, I was showing it to you using the manually updated fields, but in real life, in your real CRM, this will update every 8 hours on its own, and your formula should be based off of this field, not the manual field. And then finally, we have a trigger, which is a formula. So this is where we do the intersection of the hours and the status. And then to add a cherry on the cake, we added 2 more fields, a subject field and the email copy field, which basically determines the message and the subject that needs to be sent with the notification. And that's pretty much it. I thought that was a pretty cool way to solve this problem with just one automation and a couple of formula fields. And if you come across a similar requirement from your clients, feel free to try this out. If you have any other ideas on how I could have solved this problem or built this feature, would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.